This is the only time in this service, I think, I'm going to ask you to sit down, sorry. I know, it's a lot of changes here. Bear with me, please. This is the only time I think I'm going to ask you to look at the bulletin, but I want you to look at the gospel lesson because this is really important. This might be about the shortest sermon I'm going to give because I'm going to be preaching throughout this service. But look at the last line. The heavens opened, and a voice from heaven said, "This is my Son, the beloved, with whom I am well pleased." Before this moment, we know almost nothing about Jesus other than that he was 14 years old in the temple, acting a little bit like a 14-year-old. When his parents said, "Where have you been?" "I've been about my Father's business." Can you imagine saying that to your folks at 14 when you were 3 hours late or 6 days late on curfew? "I was about my Father's business." But until this moment, we know almost nothing. When Jesus came up out of the water, he called Peter and Andrew and James and John. "Leave your nets. Bring your nets with me now to co-catch people." And that was the beginning of Jesus changing the world. Something happened in that water for Jesus, or he heard something. And I don't want to try to get into the mind of Jesus. I have a hard enough time getting into my own mind. But something happened at this moment that completely revolutionized, changed, and ignited his life. Right here. What Jesus heard on that day, he came to tell us. He wants us to hear these words to the depths of our hearts. You are God's son. You are God's daughter. You are God's child. Sorry if you want to disagree with God, but that's who you are. That's your identity. How's that sound? Well, a couple people like that. All right, let's see if we can get... Jesus is saying to you now, you are the beloved of God. How's that sound? Well, okay. Here we go. Did you know that God could not love you anymore and will never love you any less? Do you know that? There's my amen corner over there. All right. You can't earn it. I'm sorry for those of you who are obsessive compulsive. You can't earn it. You can't lose it. Now here it is. You're the child of God. You're the beloved of God. And God is pleased with you. How does that sound? Good. All right. I'm glad Senior Wharton got that one. All right. A lot of us walk around, though, sadly, not believing any of these things. We think, God couldn't be pleased with me because, well, I did this and didn't do this, I said this, didn't say this, or, I have bad thoughts sometimes. You are a child of God, you're the beloved of God, and God's pleased with you. I know. If you could see Robert's face is doing this, and that's our reaction. God couldn't be pleased with me. If you've heard that from any pulpit or any preacher, that pulpit was all wrong. I stand and declare it to you. And too much of the Christian life is about shame and guilt and falling short. Do we fall short? Yeah, of course we do. But the very center of everything that we believe is grace. Not what we do, but what Jesus has done for us. I've preached on this lesson before a couple times. I have known people who write down those words and put them on their mirror, and when they do whatever they do in the mirror, and read them, and I've had people testify that their lives are changed. You are a child of God. You are loved by God. And God is pleased with you that you're here, that you are his child, that you have got gifts and abilities to make a difference for God in this world. How does that sound? Oh, no, I got to move to the next part. I want you to embrace that, and together let us say, Amen.